So I guess today we are starting the topic on recruitment and selection. I think I only simply introduced the topic, and we just gave a mere definition that is basically the finding and attracting of applications. I think basically that's what we discussed. So today we want to complete that topic, but we'll combine, after talking about recruitment, we'll also talk about issues concerning selection. So each one of them also has processes, but also they have their own advantages and disadvantages. So one of the key tasks that as a human resource manager is also concerning issues about recruitment and selection. But you would also appreciate that from the first topic that we were talking about, we was talking about human resource planning. So the question is, what was it that we were planning for? You remember we're looking at the supply and the demand. So each one of that will call for an action, as I said. So sometimes where the demand is higher than the supply, it means that we basically have to recruit. Yeah, so that's why we'll probably look at this topic on recruitment and selection. So after defining, since we already defined, so today we'll start from looking at the purpose and importance of recruitment. Okay? Pardon? And importance of recruitment. So why do we do it, and why is it important for us to basically recruit? So the first purpose that we see why we're doing recruitment is basically to increase the pool of job candidates at a minimum cost. Increase the pool of job candidates at a minimum cost. So in other words, what we're saying is that when recruiting, we'll prefer to have a large number of people that have applied for the position. The reason being is that because the wider the number of people that we have recruited, the better we are also going to get the right candidate when we are selecting. All right? So if you have a pool of 100 and you have a pool of 10, the higher chances of getting a better candidate will be 100 other than looking at 10 people, because 10 people, it means that you have a minimum selection criteria because you're only dealing with a small number of people. So the main purpose of why we do recruitment is because we want to simply increase the pool of job candidates, but at the same time, something that is going to be done at a minimum cost. Number two is also basically to meet legal and social obligations. What's your comment on this? What do we mean when we're saying that to meet legal and social obligation? If we are to recruit, what sort of legal obligation are we meeting? What sort of social obligation are we meeting?
Okay, let me just say on the social obligation.
Okay.
There are a lot of people who are unemployed.
Unemployed.
So these people who are unemployed, most of them are engaging into theft, drug abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you employ, you recruit people, you give people a chance to apply for jobs.
Okay.
And get jobs, it will minimize those things.
Okay. Not only that, the worst one, poverty, right? So giving them a job, it means you're uplifting them in terms of their standard of living. Yeah, they'll be self-independent. Yeah, in other words, they'll be independent, not self-independent, but they'll be basically independent. On the legal aspect, I don't know whether I was talking to this class, but we talked about issues concerning equal employment opportunities. All right? So everyone, as a society or as an organization, they have an obligation to make sure that they are providing equal opportunities to the what? To the society. I don't know whether you have noticed that this, when you're looking at various vacancies, they'll write this statement at the below to say, no, such a company is an equal opportunity employer. Like it gives equal opportunities to what? To everyone. And these days, because of gender issues, you will find that they are also continuing with the sentence to say women or females are encouraged to apply. Why are they saying that? It's because they don't want people to look at the position and always think that maybe it's gender biased, that they are only looking for a male candidate. So they want to make sure that they are providing equal opportunities even to what? To women. Okay? So that's why maybe they'll put that disclaimer statement to say that females or women are also encouraged to what? To apply. Yeah. So the reason is because they don't want to make that position to be maybe masculine. Sometimes, for example, positions like a manager, you find that most people think that managers can only be males and not what? And not females. And so once they see that tag, the position to say this is the position that is being advertised, people will basically stereotype to say, no, it means this position is for what? For a male. So it is up to the organization basically also to embrace, to make sure that again they are also giving an equal chance even to what? To women. So nowadays, even in organizations, we are looking at that we should promote a 50-50%. Yeah? I don't know whether you were around when Chair told the universities to come up with a gender policy. That was last year, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or last year. I don't know whether you were around. But I think students were sensitized about issues concerning gender. But the reason is because the same issue, that we want to promote equal opportunities even at school. That even when we go in a class, do we have a right mix of number of males and females? Or maybe it's dominated by males only or by females only. And such, it may show as if maybe the university, in terms of its selection, is only biased. So to make sure that we run away from that, even when we are looking at vacancies, we have to make sure that we are balancing up between males and females. Another importance is that it will help increase the success rate of selection process.
The success rate of what?
Selection process. So how? This is simply, I think we can say it's a continuation from where we're saying that you increase the pool of job what? Candidates. So the more you have a larger pool, it means that it will increase again the success rate for you in terms of selecting the right person. Okay? Another element is basically to identify and prepare potential job applicants. To identify and prepare potential job applicants. So those that have undergone already, that they've been recruited, it means again we are preparing them, the likeliness of them becoming the job applicant. The last one is that again we can also evaluate the effectiveness of various recruitment techniques. Evaluate the effectiveness of various recruitment techniques. So what does it mean by this? Is that the recruitment process that we are going to use, or the technique that we are going to use to recruit people, we'll also get a feedback at the end of the recruitment process to say whether that technique that we have used is something that is effective or what, or not. Okay? So it can be that maybe you are using internal recruitment, or basically you're using external sources of recruitment, or internal sources of what? Of recruitment. So you want to also see which one is effective. Is it effective to use internal, or is it effective to use external? It may not only be that, but even in terms of the sources that you are using. If you are using external, are you using the newspaper? Are you using job boards? Are you using LinkedIn? Are you using social media platforms? Which one seems to be ideal? So again, one of the purpose of recruitment is again to simply evaluate which recruitment technique would be effective for the organization. So this level of effectiveness is not only looking at accomplishing the objective that we want, but also looking at the ability to minimize on what? No, sir. I lost you for 2 minutes there. You were in dreamland. What does it mean to be effective? So I was saying it's not only about just meeting the objective, that because we want a candidate, but also the ability to minimize on what? To minimize on what? It's number one there. At the last point. Yes. To minimize what? Cost. Yeah? So maybe a newspaper is expensive. So what do? Post it on Facebook. Cost effective, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm saying the effectiveness is not just looking at that because we have the right candidate. But again, if we look at the whole process, how much have we spent if we were to look at the cost benefit analysis? So again, we have to look at the techniques that we are using to say whether the technique that we're using is effective or not. Is it getting to our objectives, but also at the same time, is it something that is cost effective? Okay. So some people go for internal recruitment not because they want to, but because maybe they're looking at the cost that will be involved in engaging in external recruitment methods. So the techniques that we are using have to also be evaluated on that. Okay. The second area that we would like to look at is the factors governing recruitment. Factors governing recruitment. So we'll look at both external as well as also the internal factors. So what are some of the factors that are going to affect us when it comes to issues concerning recruitment? Number one is that already we are talking about the demand and what? And supply, isn't it? Yeah. So in the demands part, it can be in terms of the organization, there is a specific skill that they are looking for. So the question is, locally, can it be found? Yeah, so here in Malawi, there was a time where there was a huge scandal concerning Cashgate. I don't know, maybe you might have heard about it. Yeah, where I think a lot of money was being misquandered in this country. So the issue was that they wanted to engage in forensic auditors. And at that time, we had to engage external consultants from South Africa to come to Malawi. But the reason was simple. We didn't have any specialist squad within it. Yeah. So again, it can mean that sometimes one of the issues that can affect in terms of our recruitment can be in terms of the demand. What is it exactly that we're looking for? Maybe it's a specific skill that it's a market that maybe here we haven't even tapped it yet. Yeah. And also we're looking at the supply. So the supply part is looking at the availability of those people that are qualified. How many of them are basically qualified? So yes, irrespective that yes, unemployment is high, but it doesn't mean that we can willy-nilly employ anyone, but it is based on specific what? Specifications that we are looking for, isn't it? Okay. Another external factor that can also affect recruitment can also be in terms of unemployment rate. So this unemployment rate depends also sometimes with the area. Okay? Because we're talking about recruitment, isn't it? Yeah. So it can also affect in terms of the ability for us to attract people because we're looking at the locality, the area that we are basically focusing on. So just yesterday, I saw a very good vacancy, a good position that some organization was basically advertising. But in terms of the location, they want somebody who is basically in Zomba. So I'm looking at that, I'm here in Lilongwe. Yeah? So it means the ability of me to apply for that particular job has been minimized because I'm looking at the what? the area, isn't it? The location, in other words. Yeah. So these are issues that can also even affect in terms of issues concerning recruitment. Okay. The other external factor can also be both the political and legal environment. Yeah. So we're talking about the external environment on its own. So issues concerning labor laws. Remember last time I told you about child labor. Yeah. Those are issues concerning the labor environment. Labor laws, yeah? And then we have also in terms of the political issues, again, that some people may have reservations, okay? Because here, like in Malawi, you'd find that when a government is in power, everything goes according to a specific region, okay? If you are in another different region, it's also difficult for you to get opportunities in terms of employment, yeah? So there's a lot of regionalism that is going on, and that is something that also affects in terms of the ability for the organization to recruit. Okay. Another element that is also external that can also affect in terms of recruitment is the image. Yeah. So what do we mean by this is that sometimes the reputation of the organization, if it's not good, then you find that even though you see a vacancy that has been advertised, but you're not interested to apply. Okay? Because of the image and the reputation of maybe that particular organization. Yeah, so that's something to do with the external again. So if people are not going to apply, it means that again we're not going to be able to attract more applicants. In other words, we will not be able to recruit candidates. In terms of the internal factors,